I've never even dreamt about being detained in a country where I've run for help.
I felt like I was in a coffin, but I was still alive.
My life is over, you know. First you was in a prison in your mind, and then now your life is over.
When I ended up in the Yeltsin Detention Center in 2008, it was a horrible feeling, especially being in a place where you're being told that you're like border on being taken out of the country, away from your family.
I claimed asylum in the UK in 2005, November 2005. When they sent me in intensely, and I didn't know anybody, and it was different people, I mean, from different country, and I was just confused, and I don't know what to do at that time, and I have no any family in the UK to contact and tell them what is going on at that time. And it was really, I used to stay with two other detainee in one room, and the first night I couldn't sleep, and I was really scared, and a really tough time.
It's like a prison because there are guards everywhere with a lot of the way they are dressed and the weapons they have on them. You're like, we are just women here. We are not murderers. It's not a friendly, good environment. It's very there's a lot of intimidation. I felt very intimidated.
It's not easy to get on your day-to-day life, you know. I can say that for real, even now, still, you know, because I never really talk about it, you know.
Migrants are a scapegoat at the moment for a whole range of things, and detention has crept up on us almost. If you look at the mid-1990s, there were around 250 spaces. We've now got about 4,000, and in the last year there's been a growth of 25%. AVID was set up 20 years ago to help visitors and visitors groups. We were established to provide training and support to groups, to provide information on detention, and to work at the policy level to improve the conditions and treatment of those inside. And that remains our focus 20 years on.
A visitor is somebody who wants to help somebody, to be a friend to somebody, to try to put yourself in their place. To have empathy is the most important thing.
We see people who are at various stages of their asylum claim. We've seen European citizens in there. It's impossible to say, there's so many. Yeah, I think that's what distinguishes them, is that there's no pattern.
For many people who we visit in immigration detention, it's the first time they've had a conversation with someone who doesn't disbelieve everything that they're telling to you.
I claimed asylum after 4 months, and they've told me that they found my fingerprint, which is in Italy, and they said my claim should be considered in Italy, not in the UK. So they just took me and detained me for 7 months. It was a really tough time, as I was 17 years old that time.
Sadly, visitors do see people in detention who should never have been there in the first place. So people who are under 18, people who've maybe been trafficked, people who've survived torture, or maybe have a mental health need. And that's not an easy thing to deal with. You do need training and the support of a visitors group. But it's also such an important role because for those detained, that's maybe the first time they've told that story to someone who's not an official, and that can be a lifeline.
I think when you go for the first time, it's a bit of a shock to see the fence, the razor wire, all those locked doors that open, you know, in a rather sinister way. The whole paraphernalia of detention is a bit of a shock. And I think most people have no idea that this goes on in their name and would be quite horrified if they knew.
And I just found the whole idea really surprising, that how awful it would be to be locked up without any really good reason, just stuck there waiting. And I felt that if that was me or my children, I would like somebody to talk to. And once I found out about the befrienders, it just seemed an obvious thing to do.
It's quite a hostile experience. I mean, the people who run it are not necessarily hostile, but the procedure is definitely hostile. You're, after all, body searched and have to take your fingerprints. And one of the charms of being older is that fingerprints actually wear out. They don't work, which we found rather funny.
One of the people that I visited calls me Auntie, and that's partly because he has no known surviving relatives, because he came here as a minor from Sierra Leone. And he's still trying, and this, you know, he was 15 then, I think, and he's something like 28 now, and he's still trying to have a state because he's been taken back there twice and not accepted by the country, so he's still stateless, but won't be accepted as officially stateless.
They happen to have had bad luck where they're born, the things that have happened to them in their lifetime, things that have happened to their families. They've often got the most harrowing stories. They often are sad, really depressed. But would you be? Would I be? Yeah, we would.
You know, if you've committed a crime and then you get sent to prison for it, you know how long your sentence is, and you can plan in your head for, okay, you know, when I get out, I'll do this. But when you're in detention, first of all, you don't know if you're going to get to stay in the country or if you're going to be sent back to your country, which might be extremely dangerous.
It's a situation that where people are really deprived of a future, or see it's wasting away, sitting there.
We can only rely on detainees requesting a visit, and there are lots of detainees who we never see. So I assume that we see the ones that are perhaps a bit more proactive, that are perhaps less depressed. That there must be quite a few who just feel pretty hopeless in there and don't even want to come and talk to somebody. And that's something that worries me a bit.
The vast majority of people I've seen, you know, are suffering from sleeping problems. They can't sleep, they get headaches, and they feel depressed, really.
I think the effect of immigration detention on individuals is absolutely damaging, absolutely long-lasting.
I think that visiting, the difference that people can make when they're visiting is just to make the person that's in detention feel that there's somebody in the outside world that is a voice for them. I suppose it's a voice and ears, really, because the voice means that there's somebody that's on their side that will do what they can for them. And the other thing, of course, as we've said before, is really about listening, which is the most important of all. That somebody will reliably turn up each week to talk to you, but also be there to, you know, on the other end of the phone during the week So that can make a difference, I think.
It helped to know that someone out there was thinking about me and concerned about me and appalled at what was going on.
When you have someone there, you know you have someone there who you could call on, it's mean everything. It's mean everything in the world. Because behind there, you just don't know what's going to happen. I see people there who will become mates and then you don't want to see them again.
Having someone to visit me every week. It's like you coming to see me right now. I feel happy. You know, when you're so lonely, you know you don't have a mother, a father, no sister, no friend at all, and someone walks into your door and is like, I've come to see you. How would you feel? Seriously.
The thing I would always stress is that actually I don't go there to try and find out stuff about them. That's up to them. I go there to act as a sounding board and to try to listen to them. If they want to talk about something, that's fine. If they don't want to talk about it, that's also fine.
We can't be angels that arrive and solve all their problems, but just by being there, we can give them a space. We can give them that hour.
The one relationship that I had with the guy who's one of the first that I met, and once he got married and he had kids, and he named his daughter after me, which was great. So we kept in contact because he only lives Croydon. He lives in South London. So yeah, we kept in touch and we visited, and he came down and visited me, and he's made a success of his life. So that's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But he doesn't like to go back to his time in detention because it was a really bad time for him. So he's always talking about the future, which is really good.
And I feel like, okay, now I've not only got a friend, I think I've got someone, I've got a shoulder to cry on. Every problem I had, every time I felt like I had something bad in my head, I had someone to talk to. It made me feel good.
She's like my mom now. I really care about her because she cared about me. She really, I have no words to explain about Celia.
I think it's a real testimony to the commitment of volunteers that there are now visitors groups in every single detention centre in the UK. Some are large with paid staff and others are volunteer-led. AVID now has 21 member organisations. In turn, they have 700 volunteers who are making that weekly journey in and out of detention to try and improve things in what way they can. It's really about being there for someone who might not have anyone else.
Visiting detainees, I think, does have an effect on the system because it is then quite, it is quite known that we are there, we are hearing things, we are seeing things. We don't see everybody, obviously. We're not aware of everything that goes on, but we do hear. We are eyes and ears on the outside. And I think that can only be a very positive thing.
The more information people have, the better it is, because the less likely they are to be tolerant of the system, which I think is deeply flawed.
I think that what I can't help thinking whenever I go to Dungavel is how better off the UK would be with these people in the community rather than with these people locked up, out of sight and out of mind.
I'm just as keen to visit now as I was in the beginning, actually, probably more so. And I think with the problems that are going on in the world today, it's just getting worse and worse, actually. There is indifference, I think, is the overwhelming response from people. So telling people stories, being that witness, I think is very important.
I think when you talk about detention as a system, people don't see the problem with it. But if you describe that system through the eyes of an individual and what's happened to them, you quite often get a reaction that you are surprised at.
20 years of supporting detainees is a significant achievement, but it would be nice to think that it wouldn't be needed for another 20 years. That detention will end.